If you've been watching this series for a while, you've probably been wondering what version of the game I am playing this on. And I'm playing the 360 version, which brings up a pretty good discussion. Because if you're wondering what kind of version of the game I'm playing, that means that you've considered playing the game, but you're not sure what version to play because you've heard that some of them are not good. And that is unfortunately very much true. Most of them are not good. So I'm gonna give you a quick overview of the different versions there are. The very astute and sharp viewers of this series will notice that I have the Xbox 360 version and the Switch version. The reason that I have these two versions are because they are kind of the best versions of the game. And the interesting thing about the 360 version is that it also works on Xbox One. And the interesting thing about the 360 version of Xbox One is that it also works on Series S and X. And the interesting thing about the Xbox 360 version that also works on Xbox One and Xbox Series S and X is that it actually runs quite a bit better than the original Xbox 360 version did on Xbox 360. And it's the original version of the game. There are two versions of the game. There is Deadly Premonition and then there is Deadly Premonition Director's Cut. This here, the Switch version, is like a weird combination. This uses the graphics and the camera controls of the Director's Cut, but it doesn't include all the Director's Cut stuff. Like the cutscenes and the houses and the suits. I like the original version, and I get why people don't like the original version, because the original version has tank controls. I don't really mind tank controls, so it's not a big issue for me. And I am completely comfortable sacrificing the camera control in exchange for the colors in that this version has, because when they did the director's cut, they, in my opinion, completely bungled the game's graphics, completely smashed them. I have shown off this version actually in a previous video. That would be episode 7B. And in episode 7B you'll see a couple of cutscenes that are colored quite a bit differently than the normal gameplay is. And that color is from the director's cut port. And yeah, I don't like how that looks. I really prefer the whole color scheme to the original version, and I think it adds so much to the game. It makes the game look stylistic. They did stuff with the lighting that makes the game look good. And this looks like pretty much every remake made in the last 5 years, pretty much every remaster. They've completely smashed what made the game look unique and just washed it out, and this looks ugly and I don't like it. But back to the ports. The Xbox 360 version, that's the best one. It's not the best one on the 360, it's the best one played on the Xbox One, and I guess now the Series S and X, because on those systems it won't have loading screens. Not that it has a lot of loading screens on Xbox One, they are 15 seconds maybe. But I imagine that the Series X version is gonna be the best version also, because that version has Auto HDR, which will make the game have more colors, which I think could be cool. But I don't have a Series X, and as you can see, I don't exactly have an HDR compatible TV. It's at least not a 4K TV. The director's cut came out for the PlayStation 3 and the PC, and of course later the Switch. The reason that I don't have those is that, I don't have a PS3. Well, I actually do, but I don't collect for the PS3. I have like 3 games for it, and the PS3 version is kind of like notorious for running quite a bit slower and more laggy than the Xbox 360 version, which generally a lot of PS3 games do. So that's just why I don't play it. It runs at it looks like 24 FPS, which I don't know, that kind of bothers me a little bit. Games need to run at 30 in my opinion. But then you might be asking, if you are such a little asshole man about the FPS, why don't you play the PC version, you piece of PC shit? And the reason for that is that the PC version is broken. Yeah, that's the end of that discussion. Well, it's not. So Steam is sort of notorious for just allowing shit to be sold on their store platform that doesn't necessarily fucking work. And the director's cut is one of those. It didn't work for a lot of people to begin with, and as time has gone on, and the systems that we play, the specs that we play PC with, and the operating systems that we use become newer and newer, and the game becomes older and older, the more incompatible our PCs become with the director's cut. I've tried and played it on 5 different systems so far, and I've had no luck with any of them. There is the hospital chapter. After the hospital chapter, the game is supposed to play a cutscene, but it doesn't play the cutscene, it crashes. After the hospital chapter is concluded, the game will just crash to desktop, and yeah, that's it. And if it doesn't crash to desktop during the hospital chapter, it will crash to desktop during chapter 8, I think. And it's reached the point where it kind of seems like if you own a system, if you own a PC that's built out of components that are younger than 6 years, you are gonna be fucked and not be able to play the director's cut. And even like in my case, where I own exclusively PCs that are built out of parts that are older than 6 years, I still can't play it. So that's why I can't recommend that version, because I can't recommend things that are broken for a lot of people, and I think this is by now unfortunately broken for all the people. And I think that's all the versions. There was an original Japanese Xbox port, I think. I don't know how that runs because I don't have it. And I think that's all the versions. Yeah, the Switch port. I guess we got talked about the Switch port. The Switch port is, as I mentioned before, this weird amalgamation between the original and the director's cut. When it originally released, it was completely broken, and after playing for like 15 minutes, the sound would cut out, and there would just be no sound in the entire game, and it lagged really bad, and it continued to crash and crash and crash through the entire playthrough. And I did complete the game despite it not having sound and despite it crashing like a lot, but it wasn't fun. But they did fix it a month later. But the shittiness about the port, it doesn't quite stop there, because when the port was originally advertised, it was advertised as there being a digital release the day after E3, and then down the line there would be a physical edition. We could order the physical edition like I think 2 weeks after E3. And I did that because I wanted to own it physically, because Deadly Premonition 2 was coming out and they would look nice together. So I first bought the digital edition, and I played that, and then I played the physical edition. And I thought that I could continue from the digital to the physical, and I could complete all the side quests and all that I missed now that I had completed and powered through the main story. Turns out I couldn't, because the digital version and the physical version was not the same version of the game. So I was stuck with having two versions of the game on my Switch, which was kind of annoying because at the time I didn't really have an SD card in my Switch because I mostly bought physical games, and I had deleted the digital edition to get some space. So I was very much looking forward to diving into all these side quests on my physical cartridge, and I just couldn't. I had this 20-hour game ahead of me that I needed to complete once again. And then I did get a SD card, and I started playing the digital edition, and I started completing the side quests on the digital edition. People complained, rightfully so, that there was a physical edition and a digital edition of the game, and that they were like sitting side by side, and that the data didn't carry over. And the company that made the port, they fixed the problem by just deleting the digital edition if you owned the physical edition. So I lost all my save data, and I was robbed of my purchase. So this edition of the game actually cost like $20 or $30 more, because I apparently had to sacrifice the digital edition to please it or something. But today it plays fine, and you can buy the digital edition and it will play fine, and it's good. They fixed the frame drops, and they fixed the sound issue, and they fixed some other issues. And you can also still buy the physical edition, because guess what? A port of a game that released without sound and ran at like 10 FPS, it didn't exactly sell like bonkers. And they also did like some annoying fucking shit where they included a map, but only specifically in the American version, even though the versions are completely identical and the Switch is region free, which is just kind of poopy, right? I don't like that. But luckily, I actually know Whitney, who made the map that is in the game, and she sent me a PDF, I think because I was mad about it, and I have it printed out, and it's on my wall, and it's hanging in one of my hallways. It's actually like the first thing you see when you open the door to my art workshop. So it's the first thing people see when they enter my domain in a professional capacity. Is that, oh yeah, that dude is a fucking nerd. So yeah, that's the port. If you want to play Untitled Premonition, I suggest picking up the Xbox 360 copy. As you can see, it runs completely fucking fine on a stock Xbox 360 without any issues at all. And you can get those for very cheap, and you can get an Xbox One for very cheap, and it will run extremely well on an Xbox One for cheap. I've seen some Xbox Ones for like $40 or $50, which is an amazing price for a pretty much current gen console. And if you want to play Deadly Premonition, it is probably the best way. You can of course always play the Switch version, but I don't think it's as pretty. And I don't want to reward the developer for making it, because they did a bad job. I mean, they fixed it, but they outsourced the fixing, so they didn't fix it. They weren't gonna fix it if people hadn't complained, and they shouldn't have released it when they released it. That's no, you don't do that. I hope this video gave you a somewhat comprehensive overview of the different ports that Deadly Premonition has, and maybe saves you from spending money on the PC version. And I hope to see you in the comments on this video, or on the subreddit, or in the Discord, where you tell me your thoughts about this amazing game that I hopefully inspired you to play, or nudged you to play. Because I would love to know what you think. it's such a personal game that affects each and every one of us in a different way, because we get attached to different characters because there are so many great ones and there are so many great varied ones. And there's always gonna be one character that speaks to the kind of person that you are, except that if you're a massive asshole, well, no, I guess there's George. Yeah, there's always gonna be a character that speaks to you that you can identify as. So I hope to see you in the comments on the Discord or, wherever. I just hope that you played the game, and I hope that this video could help you figure out how to. I'll see you.